Hello, this is Nick from PlanetReport.net. Cape Town in South Africa is facing a critical water shortage after a number of years of very low rainfall, and the city could have no running water as from the 16th of April is the current estimate. So I'm just going to go through some facts about Cape Town, the amount of rain it gets, the drought that they've been having, and also I'm going to look at the supply. Well, obviously the supply comes from the water system and how much rain falls from the sky, but it also is how much water is stored in reservoirs and dams. So what is the infrastructure? Why is all of a sudden the water in such a critical situation? So I'm just going to go through some facts about the general climate down in Cape Town to begin with. So as I said, it's like a Mediterranean climate, so it has lovely summers, which is the winter in the northern hemisphere. So their summer is now in February, and their winter is in June and July and August. And the annual rainfall for Cape Town is 788 millimeters, and most of that falls in the winter. Now, to contrast that with some other cities that you'll have heard of, and very famous cities, for example, Rome has 834 millimeters of rain, so it has a bit less than Rome per year. It has more than Barcelona, which is 640 millimeters a year, and surprisingly it also has more than London, which has just 601 millimeters a year. Now that might surprise some people, because people from around the world probably think as the UK has been a rainy island, but the east coast of Britain gets a lot less rain than the west coast, and in particular the southeast of England, where London is. And London is a city of 8 million people, so you know that's a whole nother video as to whether London has got enough reservoirs, because it's got a big growing population, and this is partly a factor with Cape Town as well. So anyway, the climate, so yeah, it has the Mediterranean sort of, the average temperature in February for Cape Town is 23 Celsius or 73 Fahrenheit. And unfortunately, the February and March are the two of the driest months of the year, so they can't expect much rain in the next 2 months, because they have the lowest number of days of rain February and March and January, and it averages about 3 to 5 days where there'll be some rainfall. In April there's about 6 days, May about 8 days, and then June, which is the winter, that has the most rainy days, and it can be about 10 to 14 days where there'll be some rain. So at least they're heading towards a period of the year where they will have hopefully some more rain than what they're going to have, unfortunately, in the next 2 or 3 months. And so the rainfall has been a lot less this year. 2017 had a drought year, and then that was compounded by the fact that the previous 2 years were also very low rainfall. So the rain in the winter wasn't enough to recoup the losses from the previous year, and this has happened for 3 years now. So this is one of the major reasons, the actual lack of rainfall over the last few years. Now, the next thing is obviously the number of people who require the water, because the more people, like for example, if you had a well in a village and there was 200 people, and 200 people were going to the well, and it was a very dry year, then with just 200, the well was made for the 200 people, so it would just be enough for the 200. Now imagine if the village went and increased from 200 people to 300 people, so it's gone up by a third in population. So let's say a few years later they've got 300 people rather than 200 people, the same well, they haven't made another well, they've just got the same well. So what's going to happen? Obviously the 300 people drawn water instead of just 200 people, the well is going to possibly empty before the rains come. So that's just like a small scale version of what we're talking about with Cape Town, because in population terms, in 1875, the population was 45,000, which is very, very low. In fact, I think when it was first settled, Cape Town, I think the original population was just like 350. You know, it was like a shipload of people. So if there was 350 people living in Cape Town now, it wouldn't matter how dry it was, because there's always going to be enough water for 350 people. But anyway, population 1875, 45,000. And they started building some dams then. I'm going to go through the dam. I'm going to try and be quick because I don't want to be too boring just reading out loads of dams, but it's important to go through them. So in 1875, the population, as I said, 45,000. In 1881, they built a 200 megalitre. Now, a megalitre is 1,000,000 litres. So, 200 megalitre reservoir in 1881. And it was, so all these reservoirs I'm going to tell you are in the Western Cape area. So it's the region of Cape Town. Some of the ones within it, not every single one will supply Cape Town, but they'll supply agriculture and the surrounding smaller towns. But a lot of them do feed into the Cape Town water system. So that's Maltino Dam, 1881, that was 200 megalitres. Then Victoria Dam in 1895, that was 128 megalitres. Then Woodhead Dam in 1897, that was 927 megalitres. Then there was one Silvermine Dam, 1898. There was no information as to the size of it, but we can assume that it had been of similar size to the others. And then Alexandra Dam in Cape Town, which is 1903, and that was 126 megalitres. Hailey Hutchinson Dam, 1904, 927 megalitres. De Villiers Dam, Cape Town, 1910, that was 243 megalitres. 1921, now the population is getting bigger, so they've done it's like the first big reservoir, and it's Steenbras Dam, and it's 33,897 megalitres. And then Kamanasi Dam in, oh sorry, I just lost my place there. Yeah, sorry about that. 1923, they built another one of 35,870 megalitres. And then 1935, 121,800 megalitres. That was Clanwilliam Dam. So again, they've just gone up a notch. They've trebled the size of the reservoir for that one. Now, that period was, for some of the years, the National Party were in government, but it was like sort of the colonial era. It was Britain, the British Empire and all that sort of thing. So up until that point, it was like British and then Boer sort of run settlement. I'm not going to do a history lesson, but anyway, from 1948 was when the National Party came into power fully, and they were the apartheid government. Now, in 1950, I think I missed the population now. No, I thought I wrote another population between 1950 and 1895. But anyway, 1950, the population was 618,000. So it's gone up quite dramatically in a period of 50 years. It's now a sizable city. And 1954, there was Kirom Dam, 10,400 megalitres. Poorgil's Kloof Dam, 1955, 9,700 megalitres. Stuytens Kloof Dam, 1955, 14,700 megalitres. Florisqual Dam, Langsberg, 50,334 litres. I think that's... and then another one of a similar size, Wemenshoek Dam, 1957, 58,700 litres. Then, so now it's 10 years later, and the population has gone up to 803,000. And Liao Gamka Dam In 1958 it was 42,211 megalitres. Klipberg Dam, 1964, 1,980 megalitres. Stomp Drift Dam, 1965, 46,270 megalitres. Korintipur Dam, 1966, 8,090 megalitres. And then Buffel Yeags Dam, Swellen Dam, 1967, 4,540 megalitres. Pieter Fontaine Dam, 1968, 1,984 megalitres. Gamkapur Dam, 1969, 37,213 megalitres. Oud Baskrail Dam, 1969, 34,000 megalitres. So now the population has gone up another 200,000 people in 10 years, and it's 1970. And its first one was Voulvlé Dam, 1971, 158,600 megalitres. Lake and Valley Dam, 1974, 10,300 megalitres. Quagelskloof Dam, 1975, 169,410 megalitres. Elandskloof Dam, 1976, 11,017 megalitres. Eikendorf Dam, 1977, 28,900 megalitres. Steenbras Dam, Upper Gordons Bay, 32,483 megalitres. Misverstan Dam, 1977, 6,400 megalitres. Then Thea Waterskloof Dam in Willersdorp, and that's 1978, and this is 480,200 megalitres. Now this is the dam in the picture of this video when it's full, and it's a major. It supplies 50% of Cape Town's water, and so it's like half of what the city uses comes from this massive dam. Okay, so, and I'll tell you how. I'll tell you a bit later as to how empty it is now. Right. Okay. So now into 1980, and the population's 1.6 million, and it's a 500,000 increase in a decade from 1970, and in that period of 10 years, the National Party government organised for a reservoir capacity increase of 897,310 megalitres in a decade. That's how much capacity they increased the water by. And so now into the 1980s, and we've got Greater Brandvley Dam, 1983, 286,040 megalitres. Gardenroot Dam, 1984, 9,980 megalitres. Kugelberg Dam, Graubau, 1986, 17,330 megalitres. Rockview Dam, Graubau, 1986, 16,630 megalitres. And then Drykloof Dam, 263 megalitres. And then Alphen Dam, it's just a small one for, 1,990 megalitres. Woolwedens Dam, 25,530 megalitres. I think the previous one, the Alphen Dam, I think that was the year. Sorry, it was built in 1990, and it just says small, so that one hasn't got any information as to the size of it. So that takes us to 1990, and the population now in Cape Town is 2.29 million, and that's an increase of 490,000 people in the 10-year period. But the reservoir capacity, well, it's still the National Party in power during the apartheid era, and the reservoir capacity increase was 355 5,773 megalitres compared to the previous decade. So as you can see, the capacity is just increasing massively with each decade that's gone by. And then we come to DeBoss Dam in 1994, 5,740 megalitres. Then Cruisman's River Dam, Western Cape, and this one is 637,900 megalitres. So it's a big dam, but it is the joining of two existing dams, the Brandvlei Dam and Quaggleskloof Dam. So they're two that I mentioned earlier, and they were big dams, and what the sounds that they've done, they've just merged them into one, and it's increased the capacity. And that was like pretty much the end of the apartheid National Party government. That was the last one that they really did, and it sort of I mean, I've read it started in 1989, and then some said it would finish in 92, others 97, but I think Nelson Mandela came to power in 1994, so that was like the last one that they were working on really as the transfer of power came. And so in 1994, 2 years later, in 1996, the population of Cape Town was 2.56 million. And then, so now we're into the ANC government, African National Congress. And in 2001, there's Ceres Kidau Dam, and it's 17,200 megalitres. And then Berg River Dam, 2007, and that was 127,100 megalitres. And the population in 2014, just a few years ago, is 3.75 million. So that's an increase in population of 1.19 million people in the 18 years since the end of apartheid. So since 1994. The reservoir capacity increased in 18 years by 144,300 megalitres. So although the population's increased by 1.19 million, the reservoir capacity is only increased by 144,300 megalitres, which is very, very small compared to the previous decades when the population was only increasing by 500,000, and that's just in 10 years, and this is for a period of 18 years. So there has to be some, questions as to why the number. I mean, you can keep on building reservoirs, but obviously the best places to build them have been built. So there's obviously a finite number. I mean, South Africa is a big place. I'm sure there's other places that could build reservoirs. So it has to be asked as to why they haven't, because it's all about the capturing the water. And even if you couldn't add more reservoirs, you have to ask, why haven't they looked at the water? I mean, the drought has been really bad, as I said, the last 3 years. But then you would think that you would have to factor in drought into your equations as to how much water you might need in a drought year, because there's always, every now and again, there's going to be a drought. So that has to be your minimum level of water, isn't it? Because if you don't have that minimum level, then it means when a drought comes, it means this is what's going to happen. Like the whole city's going to have no water. And then, so it's not just population though, it's also tourism, which is a great thing. In terms of the economy, it's really helped South Africa. It's an important part of the economy, and that's been grown and grown and grown. So South Africa Tourism, which is like an official body, their report showed in 2016, 1.5 million international tourists travelled to the province, which gives a year-on increase of 18.5%. So that's quite a big leap in 1 year. And then domestic tourists, people who are from South Africa going to Cape Town for a visit, arrivals reached 2.1 million, bringing it to 16% year-on-year, which means... Oh, there's an ambulance or something. Don't know if you can hear that. Sorry about that. Yes. Well, right, where was I? So yeah, the total is 3.6 million tourists per year visit Cape Town. Now, you've got to remember they're only visiting for, let's say, a week or 2 weeks. So it doesn't mean that all through the year there's an extra 3.6 million people like living there permanently. They're all, so if you, it'd be interesting to know how many tourists per week are adding to the population of the city. But if you divide 3.6 million by 12 months, you're going to have a lot less people, and you're going to maybe adding like 100,000 or something, or a couple 100,000 to the population who are using the water facilities, and then also in the last 20 years, agriculture, so citrus farms, wine vineyards, and all these sort of places, there's more of them, and also there's probably more industries. There's just more development, which all requires a lot more water than when the population was smaller and there was fewer industries. I mean, there's always been the farms, but the farms, they're employing more people, they're doing more exports, which again is a good thing, but of course it's putting more of a demand on the water system. So they're like the factors: the population, the tourism, the agriculture. That's the demand, and then the supply is the rain that's fallen, and also how the rain's being caught and distributed within the dam and reservoirs. So where are we at the moment? Well, the 1st of February was the new stricter regulation for water use, so it's now down to 50 litres per day. So people are capturing the water in showers and using it to flush, like in bowls, and flushing the toilet with it, trying to really, I mean, it's having to go to I don't know, people are queuing up for the water in some places so I don't know whether if the taps are still working, I don't know why they would be going to collect water. It showed you like some quite well off suburbs, and there's big queues of people collecting the water, so I'm assuming that maybe the water pressure's down, or I just don't know why they're having to collect it now, because they will have to collect it if the taps run dry in April, and that will be pretty, it will be horrendous. But anyway, there's plenty of news articles and stuff as to how they'll distribute it and all the plans and everything, so I won't go on about that. So yeah, it's the 16th of April currently. I think it was the 12th, and then it's gone pushed back to the 16th. So if people keep on saving the money, saving the water, the pushback date might go a bit further into April. So the more they can save, the less likely it is that they'll have this day where they'll have no water. So the dam situation. The current situation from the Cape Town government website on the 2nd of February, which was yesterday, all of the dams supplying Cape Town the combined capacity is 25.8% of maximum. So they're literally like a quarter, and if you add them all together, the water supply for Cape Town is just a quarter of what it should be for the reservoirs. And then the Thea Waters Kloof, which the dam which I was telling you about, which supplies which the pictures of, it supplies 50% of the water to the city, and it's only 12.9% full. So you've possibly seen some of the footage on the news and the news websites, photographs of this dam, this reservoir, and it's like a dust bowl, it's like a tiny slither of water in the middle of it, and it's just, there was a farmer talking about where he's getting the water from, and it had a pipe going in to where they're getting it from now, and it's like way in the distance compared to where they would normally get the water. So it's very, very serious. So if you're down in Cape Town, best of luck, and hopefully it rains as much as possible in the next few months. But it's not a quick fix, because even if it rains in the winter and people, still got a population of nearly 4 million people using the water. So even if you've got that constant drain on the system, so when the water's coming down into the reservoirs, every day you've got this like a level of water that's being extracted, and the more that's being extracted, obviously the more rain it needs to fill it back up to a reasonable level. Okay, so thanks for listening. I was aiming for 10,000 views for this video, not for this video, for the channel, but it was getting towards about halfway point. I was getting towards about 5,000, but then YouTube have just changed the monetization rules, and you need 1,000 subscribers, and I've got 7. So if you found this interesting, or if you're interested in wildlife and environment and stuff, then please do subscribe, that would be great. And in the meantime, thanks for listening. Goodbye.